Hello everybody and welcome back. As always, I am Mateo311 and this is your channel for everything VR related. Today, we're updating the list of the best free-to-play VR games. Now, I update this list 2 to 3 times a year, and these are all the titles I highly recommend as of December 2024. This includes games for all major VR platforms, and I've organized this video by genre so you can easily find exactly what you're looking for. I'd love to hear down in the comments right now what your favorite free-to-play VR game is, or if I missed anything you recommend along the way, make sure to point it out to me. Now, there are of course links and timestamps if you want to skip ahead, but before we jump in, this video is brought to you by my long-term sponsor, Kiwi Design. If you're looking to make your Quest headset much more comfortable, or you want a top-of-the-line battery pack for up to 3 hours of extra gameplay, well then I highly recommend their brand new K4 Boost head straps. It's now available in both traditional and Halo strap versions, and not only are they cheaper than what Meta has to offer, they're also way more comfortable with some extra plush material. There's a link to Kiwi down in the description, and don't forget to use discount code Mateo311 for 5% off and to help support my channel. So let's start things off with one of VR's most popular genres, and that's the shooter. I still personally love Hyperdash because it's a fantastic combination of some old school arena style mechanics combined with modern day gameplay modes and VR specific elements like mini teleportation hops and rail gliding that just feels so good. Now, this was actually the first title from Triangle Factory, a studio you'll most likely know from their Rainbow Six Siege style game Breachers. Shortly after Breachers released, they made Hyperdash free to play, and I highly recommend it. Now, another free to play shooter that caught me off guard is part of Horizon Worlds, and that is Super Rumble. Don't let the Rec Room style appearance fool you on this one, it's actually a really solid shooter. There's a wide array of unique weapons and power-ups, which are well suited for multiple different gameplay styles. There's both ranked and unranked matches, you can set up private games, and you can even battle it out against bots if you're not looking for some human competition. But if you do happen to be motivated by competition, well then go ahead and jump into VR's most popular Battle Royale title, Population 1. Their original gameplay mode is still filled with fierce competition, and their new Phoenix Royale mode is a lot more forgiving and just a lot more noob-friendly. Additionally, the game also has a massive sandbox mode, which allows you to create or just experience tons of player-made content. And the final cherry on top is the fact that this game has a massive amount of cosmetic unlockables. Now, another free-to-play shooter that's been around for quite some time is Gun Raiders. Currently on Season 9, this game now has a Battle Royale mode, a hub where you could just chill out and make some friends, and some other familiar gameplay modes like Assault, Control, Free-for-All, and Team Deathmatch. Now, the usage of jetpacks definitely gives this game a unique feel, and once again, there's plenty of unlockable content. But if PvP is just not for you and you're looking for a single-player shooter, I highly recommend Propagation VR. This is a stunning-looking and extra creepy wave shooter where you need to survive an onslaught of monstrous creatures. Now, if you're a bit too scared to play alone, they do offer up a multiplayer mode, but you will need to pay for that one. Now, another free-to-play shooter that I constantly forget, and one of the only free games available on the PlayStation VR 2, is Cactus Cowboy Plants at War. Don't let the goofy characters deter you, this is definitely a fun experience. Plants at War offers up an ample amount of World War II style action, with its own unique sense of style, graphics, and comedy. I actually wish the developer went in a more serious angle, because it feels like they could have delivered one hell of a World War II shooter. Now, to pull a full 180 in terms of graphics, we have a really old node-based shooter demo called Bullet Train. This was basically used to show off just how badass Unreal Engine VR games could be, and if you never tried some of those old school PCVR titles between 2017 and 2019, then you'd be unaware of how differently they hit. So don't jump in expecting anything grand scale, but you will get a nice dose of eye candy with this one. But let's move on from an extremely well-represented genre, the shooter, to stealth games, which we barely ever see in VR. Luckily though, there's Republic, an excellent story-driven stealth-based title from the same studio that gave us Iron Man VR. Previously, this was a paid title, available in both VR and flat screen, and then randomly Camouflage surprised us by making this free to play. This is a third-person title which has you navigating a character named Hope in an attempt to escape her current confinement and also uncover a massive conspiracy. So if you have any interest in VR stealth titles, I highly recommend this one, regardless if it's free or not. But let's move back into a much more common genre, and that is the social applications. Both VR Chat and Rec Room have been staples of the VR community for years now. They offer up an insane amount of user-generated content, tens of thousands of different people to interact with, and while Rec Room focuses a bit more on minigames, going as far as recently giving us a crossover with Destiny 2, VR Chat on the other hand leans a bit more into socialization and actually living a second life in the virtual world. But recently, a new challenger has emerged, and that is Rift XR. This obviously has all the social elements you'd expect from this type of game, but they're also positioning it more as an evolving MMO. Honestly, I love the concept, and there's a massive overlap between socialization and MMOs, so while this game is still pretty new, I'm extremely curious to see where it goes over time. Now there's another new player on the social scene, and that's Banter, which has been developed by SideQuest. What makes this title unique compared to the rest is its emphasis on being a physics-based sandbox. So many of the aspects that make titles like Bone Lab and Blade and Sorcery just so good are present in this social-based game. But if you're really not interested in meeting new people online, and you're much more of a competitive player, well then you could jump into the VR Esports scene. The first game, Ultimax, is a bit Rocket League meets BattleBots. It's almost like a 1v1 or 2v2 game of soccer, but instead of using your feet, you have robot rocket hands, and you could freely punch your opponent in the face. Mechs also have different abilities at their disposal, and of course there's plenty of unlockable cosmetics. Now I'm not sure just how active the player base remains on this title, but it's definitely worth giving it a try. Now there's also another highly competitive 1v1 shooter from Resolution Games called Blast On. This is like an extremely unique duel of the future, where you not only put together an arsenal of unique weapons, but you also need to dodge incoming bullets. This was originally a paid title that received lots of updates, but not too long ago it went free to play, and it's still a fantastic experience. But now I have a brand new title to throw into the free-to-play esports arena, and that's Gravity League. Gravity League is currently in App Lab, but will be receiving a full release in the near future. The best way to describe this game is like playing three-dimensional knock hockey. Instead of just a simple round paddle and only being able to bounce the puck off the left or right wall, you can now also bounce it off the ceiling or floor, and you also have an array of different paddles, each with unique abilities. For example, you could put a shield paddle in one hand, which is great for blocking, but not so good at striking. And in your other hand, you could put a mini bat, which is fantastic for just crushing the ball. There's also a full progression system with tons of different unlockables, ranked and unranked multiplayer, a full single player campaign, and even some mini games. Honestly, this game might not look like much, but it's an absolute blast to play. Now, another sports title that you guys told me was an absolute sin I missed in a previous video is Big Boulders VR. This is an array of different sports games such as basketball, football, and volleyball, all of which include advanced physics. They're designed not only to be fun, but more importantly, look and feel right. There's plenty of in-game customization so you can represent yourself exactly how you want to, and there's of course plenty of competition out there. But if you're not into competition and you're just looking for something fun to play, we have the casual genre. In this category, almost nothing beats the Lab from Valve. They developed this series of minigames to help show off the original release of the HTC Vive, and by some magic, the experience is still absolutely fantastic today. You get to meet Gladys up close and personal, there's a really fun tower defense game, an arcade shooter, plus a handful of other experiences designed to just make you go wow. If you never tried it, just go download it right now, and it's also a fantastic experience for VR noobs. Now the next titles are for the Star Wars fans out there, as we have two really fun demos that are definitely worth checking out. The first one is Droid Repair Bay, which is exactly what it sounds like. There's an array of different Star Wars style droids, each with their own issue that you have to repair. Overall, the title has that Disney IMAX type of flair, but there's not much to it. It's just a cool, good-looking experience to check out, or maybe a nice way to demo VR to some noobs. And the same goes for Trials of Tatooine. After playing this, you'll be begging for a full-fledged Star Wars game with high-end graphics. It's a nice little glimpse into that whole Jedi world, as you get to battle a bunch of stormtroopers with a lightsaber, and see some iconic ships and characters up close and personal. Now, a unique experience that not too many people try in VR is card games. Now, if you're missing the casino and enjoy games like Texas Hold'em, Vegas Infinite should be your go-to game. This is a classic title that was previously called PokerStars VR, but the latest updates have just added so much more, and the game has been rebranded. Now, if gambling isn't the type of card game you're looking for, I highly recommend some trading card game action with cards and tankards. Now, it's not quite Yu-Gi-Oh! In VR, but it's the closest possible thing. You get to build your own deck filled with creatures and spell cards, and then go ahead and battle it out in some online taverns. Now, this is also a very social experience, as you could just hop from tavern to tavern, make new friends, and watch people play their games. This is honestly one of the only competitive games that I still end up having a lot of fun, even when I'm not winning. But if you're looking for realism, let's move into some sim titles. In this category, a game that constantly comes up is DCS, or Digital Combat Simulator. There's a good chance it'll be quite overwhelming for a lot of people, but if you're really looking to get into a sim fighter, this is your go-to game. Now, my personal experience in this title is limited, but I can't tell you how many people recommend it to me. But if you're not looking to put in any effort and just want to have a fun ride, I recommend Epic Roller Coasters. If you're new to VR, this might not be right for you because it can be nausea-inducing, but there is something pretty damn cool about riding a virtual roller coaster, especially because they could basically do whatever they want and don't need to follow the laws of physics. Additionally, if you do end up getting sick, you're already much closer to your bed than you would be at the theme park. Now, my personal favorite genre is RPGs, and in this category, I really don't have much to offer up, but how does a mix of Minecraft and Dark Souls sound to you? Now, this most likely won't scratch that very distinct RPG itch, but I guess it's better than nothing, and as a free title, what do you have to lose? But you'll most likely get a bit more out of a Township Tale, which sort of straddles the line between an MMO light and an RPG. However, the focus here is primarily on crafting, and this title's only free to play for PCVR gamers. So I really have the stretched category here, guys, but these games can be a ton of fun, and I do still highly recommend them. Now, if you're just looking for a cool experience to try out, I recommend you fly around in the beautiful futuristic city of Aircar. There's honestly not much to it, but it is undeniably stunning. This feels like the type of experience you could build an entire game around, but unfortunately, it's just remained a simple demo since 2017. Now, instead of taking to the skies, why not dive down into the ocean with the Blue? This is the safest way to get up close and personal, with plenty of different marine life, and it's an absolute spectacle to behold. Now, the title only offers up a little bit of content for free, but it's enough to let you know if it's right for you. Now, by popular demand, I've added a bunch of additional VR experiences, starting with Jurassic World Blue. Again, this is back to the PCVR days, where it was all about flash and not much substance, but overall it's a nice change of pace, especially since everything being released these days is standalone focused and just doesn't have the same type of feel. So here you can just sit back and enjoy some high fidelity dinosaurs. But if you want an experience that's more interactive, I highly recommend you check out Anne Frank House. Not only is this worth exploring for the historical significance, but being highly immersed in a world like this just makes it feel that much more real, and it becomes much easier to emotionally connect to the traumatic experience this child had to go through. But if that's way too deep for you and you're looking for cuteness overload, go check out Invasion. From the same director as Madagascar and narrated by Ethan Hawke, you get to watch an adorable bunny deal with an alien invasion. This was one of Baobab Studios' first VR animations, and it's definitely still worth checking out. But if watching a bunny bounce around sounds boring to you, why not hop into the adventure title, The Ranger Lost Tribe? After a recent blood moon, the whole world seems to be going crazy, and you'll have to battle your way through some ferocious creatures. Luckily, you have a sword, shield, and bow at your disposal that you could use to dismember countless enemies. Now, this title already has up to 4 hours of content, but it looks like it was originally meant to be part of a much larger game that never happened. But let's move on to some horror games. Besides my typical recommendation of the room scale title Shattered Lights, which will have you physically walking around locations, then back to an elevator, and down to a new floor, as the game just continually creeps you out with sounds and lighting. But if you're looking for a newer experience, I recommend SCP Lab Rat. The SCP series has been around for a long time, and if you're not familiar with it, it's basically a prison for super creepy and mysterious creatures. Of course, containment breaches are also quite common in this lab. Now, Lab Rat is actually a recreation of the original SCP containment breach, but now it's in VR and offers up both single player and multiplayer modes. Just make sure you pack a diaper for this one. Now, another brand new category for our free-to-play games is mixed reality. While I still consider this tech to be in its infancy, there are some really cool experiences. Laser Limbo basically allows you to turn any real-life environment into your own personal laser tag course. The design features alone are pretty freaking awesome, but then once you're done, you could play in your new environment against bots or in a 1v1 shootout. If you have any interest at all in mixed reality, definitely go download this game right now. And for any I Expect You to Die fans out there, you also need to try Home Sweet Home. It's that same slapstick escape room action that the normal game delivers, but now it's taking place in your real life environment. It's pretty much only a short demo, but still worth trying out. And finally, I'm going to end today's video with some free creative apps. VR is not all about fun and games, and it's actually an extremely impressive creative tool. If you wanted to start designing 3D objects, I highly recommend you check out Gravity Sketch. Now, another cool design application worth checking out is Microsoft Marquette. This is designed for virtual prototyping, where you could quickly sketch and iterate ideas in 3D space. Now, it might not be as popular as some of the other tools out there, but you might end up enjoying it more or finding it easier to use. Or if you want to focus more on artwork, we have OpenBrush. And that right there was today's video. Go ahead and let me know down in the comments what you think about these games, or if I missed any recommendations. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, consider subscribing. And as always, I'll see you guys on next time.